Well, today I took my quad out for one last rip. I've owned this quad since middle school. It was sometime towards the end of the summer in 2013 when I bought it. I would have been 14 years old. I picked it up since I wanted something to quote-unquote drive during the off-seasons from racing, since I didn't have my license yet. At the time, I could literally just ride out the back gate at my parents' place and I'd be in the trails, which was great. I could decide on a whim that I wanted to head out for a half hour or hour's worth of quadding pretty much whenever. But as time went on, that land was developed, and eventually I moved out. And my quad was used less and less. And if I'm being fully honest, even in those early days, I never really used it quite as much as I'd anticipated. About a year ago, as some of you may remember, I picked up a hitch for my Fit and a little trailer, with the express purpose of being able to use my quad more freely once again. But in the time since then, I've really only had it out maybe 3 or 4 times. Don't get me wrong, I always have a blast when I'm riding it, and it's been absolutely dead reliable all these years. It's an '08 Suzuki Ozark 250 with a 5-speed clutchless manual transmission, meaning it has enough power to be fun, and you still have control over your gears, but it's not quite powerful enough to seriously injure you. As long as you're not being stupid, that is. Today, my plan was to hit up all my old haunts, all the places I fondly remembered ripping around, but I wound up actually spending most of my time riding along a trail I'd never been on before. That definitely was not designed with quads in mind. It was more of a dirt or mountain bike trail for sure, but with a quad as small and as light as mine is, forging your way through trails that were never designed with quadding in mind can be just as much, if not more fun than high-speed, high-thrill trails and tracks. And I did wind up making my way out to almost all the classic spots too. So why am I calling this my quad's final rip? Well, the original purpose this quad was purchased for has long since been antiquated. I have my license now and a handful of cars to choose from. But that's really been the case for more than half of the time I've owned this quad, so that's not really the reason. And let's be honest, riding a quad is a lot different than cruising around town in a car, and both are far from replicating the feeling of door-to-door circle track racing. So, what gives? Well, at the end of this last racing season, I bought a dwarf car. Or, more accurately, my dad bought a dwarf car and now I owe him money for it. And, I've had this quad for a decade. I think it's time to let someone else enjoy it. I know that, as much fun as a quad can be, I'm going to have so much more fun with a dwarf car. There is no competition as to which one I'd rather keep. So, it's been fun. It's been a blast, but it's time for our story to come to a close. I'll miss having a quad, one as perfectly reliable and as fun as this Ozark has been, but I've had my fun. And I'm okay with letting that fun live on in memory rather than keeping it around just to try and resurrect it once or twice a year.